Couple of announcements here. Want to welcome our newest park board member, Tom Ewert. Go with that. Welcome to the club. Happy to have you. Thanks for being in attendance today, and we'll look forward to having you at the meeting next month up here joining us. I want to welcome Nate Johnson as well, stepping in for, well, Eric's here. So welcome, Nate.
There is going to be a transition
Okay.
from Eric to Nate.
Okay.
So it's a very difficult job and very demanding. and so this transition
Bringing
is
in the
really,
big
really
guns,
important.
huh?
Yeah.
We'll miss you, Eric. Public comments, I got Harold.
Should I go here?
Yep.
Yes, please.
And is the sound working today?
Yes.
Good. My name is Harold Schlechtweg. I live at 351 North Fern Street here in Wichita, which is in the Delano District. Mr. President, members of the Board of Commissioners, Park Commissioners, thank you for allowing me to address you today during the public comment period. As you may recall, I spoke to you last month and recounted how I became aware of the problem of Wichita's declining tree canopy when I noticed that 8 trees had been removed from the city rights-of-way in the 2-block area of my home in Delano. I subsequently discovered that since 2016, the city's park department has removed 22,000 more trees than it has planted. Additional thousands of trees are being lost to development. Conservatively, the Wichita tree canopy is losing over 5,000 trees a year after year, stretching back before 2016 and continuing so far indefinitely. As you are aware, much of Wichita's tree canopy is aging and will soon need to be replaced. A drought in 2011 and 2013 weakened many trees and caused further losses. Last year's 10-degree below zero weather was not kind to our tree canopy. For years, the city has underfunded park operations and forestry, and this compounds the problem. To stem this tide, I asked the Board of Park Commissioners to support additional funding for park operations and forestry. I also asked the revised tree ordinance, now under preparation by the City of Wichita, require developers to conserve mature trees as well as replace those removed in return for the economic benefits they receive from the city. Fortunately, many Wichitans are becoming aware both of the threat to our tree canopy and of the benefits our trees provide. We will be getting together Thursday, March 24 at 6 p.m. at the Wichita Art Museum to discuss what we can do to promote a tree-friendly agenda in the city. Today, I would like to address the benefits of trees to Wichita as documented by study after study by the U.S. Forest Service and other scientific researchers. According to the Forest Service, the urban tree canopy reduces temperatures in the city. This has all kinds of economic health benefits. It reduces energy use by buildings due to shading from nearby trees and from overall cooling of the urban environment. Trees improve air quality and reduce pollution in the urban environment. Trees also reduce noise pollution. Again, these qualities benefit the city, both economically and in the health of citizens. Addressing health issues directly, researchers have shown that urban citizens who live among trees show improved mental health, happiness, and well-being. Trees also contribute to our attempts to mitigate the damage of climate change. They are a carbon sink, absorbing carbon in the atmosphere and storing it. Finally, restoring our tree canopy is cost-effective. The 2018 Geospatial Assessment Study of Wichita's tree canopy estimated the value added of Wichita's then 23% tree canopy coverage at almost $112 million. Studies also show a positive return on investment, cost-benefit ratio of planting urban trees. I would like to leave you with these words by Alfred McDonald. Mr. McDonald was a former city manager and former director of parks. Writing in 1924 in the March issue of the City Manager magazine, Mr. McDonald said, quote, "There is no natural feature which a city can possess that can add more to the beauty and attractiveness of that city than the appearance of shade trees on the city streets. And there is no feature in any city which can better indicate the civic pride of that city than the manner in which the city's shade trees are cared for." And then he went on to say, "Shade trees not only add to the beauty and appearance of a city, but shade trees add to the value of property. They make a city a more healthful place in which to live." Thank you for your attention to my remarks. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to respond.
Any questions or comments for Harold?
I got a few to share. So this is an item that we've been addressing for several years, working on trying to come up with more funding for planting more trees in public areas. But one of the areas where we can really make a difference is actually planting trees in private areas, in people's backyards, their front yards, in businesses. So it's really important that we also educate folks about that in those areas as well. This whole endeavor doesn't have to fall on the shoulders of forestry, or even this board. This could be a lot larger in perspective across the whole city. So a couple things, the reasons why we're seeing some decline in regards to the amount of more trees being removed than more trees being planted. A lot of it is because of disease. We have a lot of trees that are facing a lot of issues in regards to disease, primarily pine trees. If you go look at any of our parks that have pine trees, you're going to start seeing those pine trees turning brown. It was probably not the best species to use at the time, because really pine trees aren't really native to Kansas. And there's several other species that are not native to Kansas that have been planted that are also susceptible to disease. So one of the issues with that is trying to catch up in regards to the wrong trees planted in the wrong place at the wrong time, which was done many, many years ago. So there's a lot of things that are involved with this. We are working on a tree policy internally, and that's something that we're working with several stakeholders. One of our fellows from the city manager's office has been spearheading this with Gary and myself, and it's going to be an item that we're going to bring next month for you guys to consider, support, and endorse. And it's primarily in regards to exactly what Harold was talking about, is protecting our trees in regards to construction sites and development that the city's doing. And we're going to try this first before we go into the public sector, because that's a huge jump to really have ordinances in place that have impact on development to the city. So we're going to try to do that first. So we're going to bring that next month for you guys to actually, I'm going to send it to you guys prior to the meeting so you can review it and discuss it, support it, whatever we need to do. So just wanted to give you a little bit more information. And I think it's a great topic and something that is really important that we really need to address. And not only Harold's cry in regards to funding more for forestry, but funding for all of park maintenance, not just for forestry, but for all the things that we do in park maintenance.
Questions? Look forward to seeing that next month. Recommended action to approve the minutes. There's not a written transcript at this time, but the video recording is available at the URL address located on the agenda. 2A. Sorry, go ahead.
So I apologize. We've been very understaffed. We're looking at finally hiring our front desk person. Penny has been dealing with not only her normal job, but also addressing some of our other items in regards to payroll and hiring. We have one person who's been out sick for the past month, and we're still trying to hire some other folks as well. So once we get the hires in place, Penny will spend the time to catch up on the minutes. But My first priority is to make sure people get paid. My first priority is to make sure people get hired. And in the meantime, we're going to focus on those and rely on the videos if there's any questions. So I apologize, but that's the direction I've given her. So,
Okay.
okay?
Thanks for that update.
Yep.
2A, 240 Circle Drive Encroachment Agreement. We also have Mert Buckley here to answer any questions if needed.
I'll give a quick presentation.
All right.
My name is Jerry Ford. I'm in the real estate office here at the City of Wichita. Haven't presented this to everybody, but the park board members have this map that's been passed out. The item before you this afternoon is to ask for your recommendation and support of our proposed lease agreement. So the property 240 South Circle is located on the west side of College Hill Park. College Hill Park is pretty well established, as are the residences in this neighborhood. The property at 240 Circle, it encroaches, the landscape improvements encroach into the parkland. This has been in place since at least the early to mid-70s that we have found. All of the agreements in the past have been where they're not assignable. And so what we've done today is we've created a new agreement that is assignable if the property ever sells. But the gist of the agreement itself is that the improvements can and will be relocated should they ever need to be relocated on behalf of the city, for the city, and that the property owner has the right, they will maintain these encroachments, the landscaping and the fence. They will continue to maintain these as long as they own the property and the agreement is in place. I don't know if there are any questions regarding this item, but I am happy to stand for any, should there be any.
Questions for Jerry?
Could you just kind of go through a scenario that this would be triggered in the future? Just give me kind of a hypothetical situation about if we do have need to exercise whatever we're moving on here.
Typically, we don't allow encroachments on city property. We try to prevent that from happening wherever possible. This is an encroachment that is outside, it's within this, on the park property, but it's outside of any and all park improvements. You can see the park path is outside of the proposed area. The proposed area is just this small sliver here that's basically, it's a driveway and a fence. So while we don't allow encroachments going forward, this is an existing encroachment that we've continued to allow be in place. It's just a driveway and it is landscaping, so the encroachment's considered minimal. But the way that this is set up, for them to have access to their garage and such, this is the only way that they can have access to all of their property, is to be able to come through ours, and that's why we've continued to allow this to happen.
Just to let you know from staff perspective, we dislike encroachments very much on a lot of different levels. However, this situation was actually put in place many, many years ago. This agreement actually has had many, many years in place like this. Jerry's absolutely correct. They would not be able to have access to the rest of their building if we were to enforce the area of our property. Now, being that they're good neighbors, they've been good neighbors for many, many years. They've been able to take care of the property as well as the landscaping. We know that they're going to continue doing that. Staff is supportive of the agreement, and staff understands what it takes to be a good neighbor, and we would expect the same from them as well. So just want to let you know from our perspective.
Is this agreement valid until there's a sale of the property or a lease of the property?
This agreement would be in force until either party terminates the agreement. So it will transfer with a sale, but there are clauses in the agreement that would enforce termination, such as if the property were not to be used as a residence and continue to be vacant for 12 months, then we have the right to terminate it and require that the improvements be removed and the site then be restored. The city also has the ability to terminate the agreement if it's needed for public purpose.
Okay. Any other questions?
Does this require a motion?
Yeah.
Yes, we're seeking
Yep.
We're seeking approval in support. We would like to then take this item before City Council for final approval, since it is City of Wichita land, but it is College Hill Park.
Then I'll make the motion to take staff's recommended action to bring this before the city council for approval. Do I have a second?
Second. Got a motion, a second, further discussion. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jerry. 2B, social media review.
So we have Katie making her debut as a presenter. And this was an item that you guys had asked for some information, giving some details about our efforts in social media. So we actually had this ready last month, but our meeting was a little bit long last month. So she's very excited to present.
Welcome, Katie.
Thank you.
Whenever you're ready.
All right,
Sorry.
so I've got a pretty high-level overview of the department's social media accounts here for you, and then I'll have a few specific examples of some of the accounts as well. So we do have 13 Facebook accounts that we manage or support, 3 Instagram accounts, a Twitter account, and 26 Google business pages. So here I've got listed out the Facebook followers and Instagram followers for the relevant pages. The Wichita Park and Recreation page is the main page for our department. Content comes from sharing posts from other city or department pages, as well as original content advertising department-wide projects, news, and programs. Shanna Applehans is our marketing and communications manager, so she manages most of these pages. She manages the Junior Golf Foundation page on their behalf. The Great Plains Nature Center is actually managed by their staff, but Shanna provides support as needed. And the same thing for the Kansas Wildlife Exhibit. And that page specifically does a great job of posting almost daily with updates on the animals in that exhibit. And it's pretty popular with our citizens. And then the individual golf pages, those golf courses were originally not part of our purview, but they were created automatically by Facebook when patrons would check in at those locations. So Shanna actually went in and claimed those pages so that they are part of our umbrella now. We don't manage much content on those specific pages, but the messenger will just direct back to the main page, and then most of the content comes from the main Golf Wichita page. So here are some highlights from the main Park and Recreation page. As you can see, the majority of the followers that we have on that page are women, and that's actually the same across the board for most of our Facebook pages except for golf, which you'll see in just a few slides. And about half of the followers fall within the 25 to 34 or 35 to 44 range, which is pretty much the millennial generation. And this could be indicative that women tend to plan more with their families, with their friends, finding things to do in the community. So these charts are comparing February in the gray line to January with the colored line. The overall reach that we had on the main page stayed pretty similar from month to month, but it was up in February than it was in January. That spike that you can see on January 11th in the blue was from a post that we made about vandalism to one of our park slides. That was shared 36 times, including by city council members, Cake News, and the community kind of banded together to share that to try to get tips to Crime Stoppers about the vandalism. Here are some specific posts that we had. So there was a small spike in February regarding the Wichita Festival of the Arts. We asked for vendors for that festival for Central Riverside Park, and that post alone was shared 25 times. And then the reach continued to grow a bit through February, mostly through 2 posts That map there at the bottom was from a survey we shared about Meadows Park to get input on improvements for the park. And then on the right with the dinosaur picture was for the Summer of Discovery registration was announced. So here is for Golf Wichita. As mentioned, we actually have more men follow this page than women, and that is an anomaly compared to our other pages. And it does skew slightly older, with 35 to 44 still being the highest age range, just not by as much. And then the 45 to 54 is about the same as that decade below. So the reach was down in February from January, and January was also down from December. So our reach is declining a little bit right now, but the unique page visits did go up. We did have a small spike there in February from this post announcing that several of the courses would be open for President's Day, whereas many of the other city facilities were closed. There's only about 3,000 followers on the Golf Wichita page, so there's 17,000 on the Park and Rec page and 42,000 on the City of Wichita page. So we're going to get more reach overall if we post about golf topics on those pages as well. However, it's still a good place to share resources for specific events. There's also that blue button there, a link to download the Golf Wichita app. Each of these events did get about a reach of 500. That text turmoil event is still upcoming, so that one will continue to grow over the next month or two. All right, Watson Park is one of our more popular parks. The reach is down a little bit for this park as well, but we did get a big spike at the beginning of January. One about Rosie the pony passing away was shared a bunch of times. And then there was a post about the ice storm that we got at the beginning of that month that had caused the reach to go up in January. So it was a little bit higher, so we came down a bit back to the normal for February. Even posts without a call to action, like a link to follow, as both of these posts were without a link, they still see consistent organic reach, we assume due to the emotional and nostalgic investment that people have in this park. So here are some specific examples from this page as well. We did see a small spike in page visits in February from these two events, OK Kids Day and Ride Season Opening Weekend, which just passed this past weekend. Each of these event pages had a reach of over 4,000. And we do have a lot of engagement from new and returning visitors, specifically because of the features and amenities at this park, like the Yellow Brick Road, the train, boats, sand volleyball, and the ponies. There was enough community interest in this park that we actually made a separate page on the City of Wichita website just for this park to inform citizens of the different features that it has. And then there are also these public groups here about sand volleyball at Watson Park, and just a specific Watson Park group as well for the community to engage directly with each other instead of waiting on content from us. And my final Facebook highlight is Open Streets ICT. We do tend to see a lot of fluctuations seasonally because it is just two specific events that we hold each year. So we had a spike there in January due to ramping up planning and promotion for the NOMAR event coming up in May. And then we did still have low but fairly constant reach throughout the months of January and February until the end of February. We posted asking citizens what parts of Open Streets they liked the most, and that got a lot of feedback on that post with people sharing it and commenting. So that one on the left is the January post. When we first started ramping up, that post got a reach of 4,900. And then on the right, we have the post asking people to comment about their favorite parts. And then the middle post is the official event for the NOMAR event, and it's already been seen by 35,000 people online. So it is going to continue growing over the next couple months until we get that event in May. So our Twitter page, this is the only page we have on Twitter. It was initially a page for Open Streets ICT when it was marketed by Visual Fusion. So they created this Twitter page for Open Streets, but then marketing has since moved in-house. And so we actually made this into just a department-wide page. And then we had about 200 followers on this page in December. And then just in the couple months since then, we've doubled it to almost 400 followers. And then that kickball league post is the most popular recent post we've had, with over 3,000 impressions already. Now, Google business pages, we have quite a few. There's 26 listed here. There's the main page, again, and then some specific facilities, the golf courses, the pools, the rec centers. Shanna provides the support for a lot of these pages as well, but then the specific facilities also have access by the facility managers, and they provide updates regarding hours. They make posts just like other social media, add photos, respond to reviews, etc. And we can get a lot of insights from Google regarding page visits, if they look at us on maps, where they're coming from, if they're calling us from that page, and lots of other things. So my example here is Evergreen Recreation Center. Matt Martinez is the supervisor for this facility. He's listed the rec center rentals, weight room fee, pickleball open play as products on this page to keep people up to date on some of the continuously available options we have at this facility. So we can see the manager view, and then on the right is probably what you're used to seeing on Google, is what the customer sees with the products listed there beneath the address, hours, phone number. So these are some of the insights we've gotten from Evergreen. In the past month, we've had 2,500 searches for Evergreen Rec Center. And most of these are from direct searches. Some of them are through discovery, meaning they've searched for similar things, and then Evergreen showed up. And then of those 2,500 searches, we've had over 300 actions taken, meaning they either called us, asked for directions, or visited the website after making the search. And then of those people that ask for directions, this is where they're coming from. So the majority of them look like they're in South Central Wichita, 67211, 216, as well as the same zip code that the center is in. And then we still have actually people coming from many different parts of the city, but the kind of central region is where we see the most visitors for that rec center. And I'll stand for questions if anybody has any.
Katie, we've got a college basketball tournament coming here in a couple weeks. Can you talk a little bit about what we're doing internally for that social strategy and potentially gaining some organic followers via that route? Obviously, it's going to be the front door. NAFSCA Park is, in a lot of ways, going to be the front door to that event. So can you talk a little bit about your strategies internally?
Katie's going to assign that question to me.
Okay.
So I'll answer that question because she directed me to. There's several different fronts that we're going to be working on. So the city webpage, we're going to be working on off of that, plus our department webpage. But as the LOC, the local organizing committee, there's several other groups. Visit Wichita is going to take the major lead on the whole gamut in regards to promoting it. We'll be working with Wichita State as well as the Interest as well. So there's several outlets that are going out, but Visit Wichita is taking the lead on what's going out to the major public. We are going to be putting things out on the city webpage as well as our social, city web social, and the parks social. Once we find out what the 4 teams are that are coming, we're really going to push that out and really hashtag it and really try to connect it with those communities. So say it's, I think in our region we have, I think Nebraska is in our region as well as Baylor, thank you. And so, you know, I think they're higher seeds, and as we see more often than not in the women, the higher seeds move forward more so than the men's. But as soon as we find out which teams, we're going to be really kind of pushing the social to connect with those communities so that they know what's going on here in Wichita. And it's not just welcoming them to Wichita, but what's going on in Wichita. How can we promote the Fan Fest that's at NASCAR Park as well? And we're going to connect with the athletic directors and the athletic boosters from those schools and let them know that NASCAR Park is going to be available for them as well.
Okay. Do we utilize any sort of geofencing at all?
In regards to tracking cell phones and...
Yeah, I mean, if
Yep.
somebody is in the vicinity of NASCAR Park, can we shoot them a push notification or some sort of directive to say, hey, are you hungry? Stop by XYZ and hang out at NASCAR Park.
Funny you should mention that. So we're not there yet. It would take an opportunity to sign people up for those, and we are working on a mobile app specifically for Parks and Recreation, and that's something that's probably be available in the fall. We wanted to get it out by the summer, but I don't think we're going to be able to make it. But through some technology funds, we're able to work on this, and it's roughly going to be about $50,000 for this app. So it would be very similar. In fact, it's by the same company that does our golf app, Gallus. And if you would sign up for it, you would get push notifications for all kinds of things, whether it's swimming pool activities or softball, baseball, whatever it is that we're doing, or special events. So we're not there yet, but that's something that we're looking at. And then there's another company that we're working with in regards to finding out where people are at, how many people are in our parks, where are they congregating, where are they spending the most time. And so that is done by tracking cell phones, but it doesn't tell us who they are, doesn't give us any kind of information about specifically who they are, but you can determine some of their background as to where they move and stuff like that. So it's a huge algorithm that can give us a lot of information, and that's not going to be available until after the summer also. Okay. But these are two huge tools, humongous, that we've been working on, and it's going to make a difference in our marketing efforts.
I guess this is probably a follow-up to this, is more on the programming side. Are we planning anything over there at NASCAR for I think the games are the 26th and the 28th, is that correct? Are we going to have pop-a-shot, bags, or just kind of a free-for-all over there?
Well, we're going to have a variety of different things. Like Tori mentioned, we're going to have a fan fest that's there on site, our athletic divisions taking lead on that. We have activities from 12 to 8 p.m. so people can come and watch the game on the big screen there in the park. Also going to have food trucks available there to do a variety of different yard games and different events, and able to promote upcoming events and things in the community, and people be aware of what we do here.
Cool.
So a big part of that, too, is really going to be reaching out to the athletic departments so those folks can come prior to the games. What we did really successfully last time we had NCAA was we had the bands and the pep rallies at right outside the stadium. The park wasn't ready at that point in time, if you guys recall, but we were actually able to do it there on St. Francis. And so that's what we want to do, is we want to host those pep rallies in the park and then let them go into the stadium.
Awesome. Any other questions for Katie or Troy? Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Very valuable information. I'd like to do this, just kind of a review once a quarter maybe. I think we can slide that into our item number 6, social media update.
Sure. Yeah, I just wanted to share with you how robust and how powerful our social media is. Our department has 17,000 followers, and that's pretty huge. Whenever we have an event out, one of them that was really kind of interesting was like the Snow Brothers Snow Day. We put that out 4 or 5 days ahead of time, and we had probably 300 people there. People really notice some of the things that we put on our social media. We might not get a lot of impressions as far as likes and those type of things, but the views that we get are pretty strong. And then when there's something that's really kind of new or informational, we get a lot of engagement. So I think there's room for improvement, but Apple Hans is doing a pretty good job.
Good. All right, 2C, capital improvement project review.
Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Tim Kellums. I'm Associate Planner and Landscape Architect here with the city and recently joined in January. So this, what I'm presenting to you has been really helpful just for me getting my bearings with the city, and so I think it'll be really helpful for you all to see kind of where we're at with our capital improvement program or CIP projects. So we have those on our website, and we use an internal spreadsheet, and that's the 6-page 11 by 17 that you have out, or you've been given. And for those that are in the audience, this is just, up here on the screen is just an example of, or really actually what was printed off. And so we'll be going through these, but I'll be going through it on the website because it's in a little bit more digestible format. But the same thing that's on this website, or that's on the spreadsheet, is on the website. So everything that we're going to discuss and show you is exactly what the board has. But just to give you an example, this is the printout of the internal spreadsheet that we have to help keep track of the projects before they go to the online listing of the CIP projects. And if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to jump in and ask. There's a number of different projects, and so it might be beneficial to lock in on one project if you have any questions rather than getting deep into the presentation and then going back to it. So if you're on the city website, you can access this information. It's only a few clicks away, so you can go to Get Information, then you'll see the departments, then you go down to Park and Recreation. You'll go over to the About Us, and the Capital Improvement Program. Oh, whoops. Alrighty, so this page is really helpful, and I've been using it since I started here, so I think it'll be really helpful for everyone here and for any of the public to look at this. And it has a nice map over here on the right in case you live in one district, and some people just kind of stay in their one district, and that's okay, but it helps them identify the parks around them. So to get started, just a bit of an overview. So we have them into 5 different categories, these different projects. So starting off with identified, and these are generally projects that are identified in the capital improvement program in the current or upcoming year, but have not been initiated by City Council. And so the list doesn't really get updated. This list doesn't really get updated until the City Council approves the CIP, and that's usually in mid-August of each year. So next is the initiated. So these projects go from the identified into initiated once they've been initiated by City Council. And they have not been designed or under construction. So that's kind of when we get into scheduled. So once they're in this initiated, they're kind of just hanging out there until we start rolling. And a lot of that's just we're trying to collect information, and we haven't selected a design team for it, or the contractor hasn't been selected, so those things are just kind of hanging out there and initiated until they get scheduled. So once they're going to the schedule, that's when we have an idea of like, okay, so this is when we're going to break ground, this is when projects are going to get started. That's what schedule usually is, and in progress is when shovels are in the ground. Things are moving, things are happening, and you'll get a better understanding of kind of what some of those projects are once we get going. And once they're completed, they go in the completed file or folder. So over here, we have kind of a long list of completed items, and eventually we'll probably go through and remove some of those as time goes on. Some of them are fairly old, I guess, in terms of like 3-4 years old, so they're relevant, but they aren't really at the forefront of everyone's minds. So to get started here, we're going to start with the identified. And so we have identified and have in the CIP that there is for the 2022 rec center and shelter maintenance. So for that, there is $290,000. There's been an evaluation for roof repair at the Evergreen Rec Center and the Orchard Recreation Center. having looked at the photos and we work with facilities on these, we have determined that $290,000 is really not going to do it to repair these because they're not in great condition. And so we have identified these as potential projects. We haven't given the thumbs up, like, yes, that's definitely what we're doing. I guess we'll. Alrighty, so that's the general overview for the rec center and shelter maintenance. So we're working with facilities on that, but the idea is that we may hold these funds until next year when we have more funding to improve these the roofs because they are pretty expensive. So wanting to do it right instead of go back there and do a simple fix and try to fix it later or come back later in a few years and just trying to be smart with how we're using this money. Here you'll see that we have the construction for South Lakes Park improvement, and that is for the pickleball courts, the clubhouse, restroom, concession stands, and facilities. So, and you'll note here that this says construction. So we have moved forward with the design portion of that. We have not selected a designer, and we'll get into that as we get down further, but we have not selected a designer for that. So this is just kind of hanging out there because we haven't started construction. And you'll see over here we have the start and end dates, or anticipated start and end dates, and the contractor. And I may chime into some of those, but for the most part they are on here and for your reference, but they're not necessarily the most important thing for this presentation, just mostly an overview of what's going on. I guess one thing to note is that on the spreadsheet that was handed out, there is a graphic link. And so that's a link for us to know where that image or presentation that was presented, where it lives. So that's easy for Katie and I to work together to figure out what we want to show to the public. So for this one, it just went to the link that went to the city council. So this was what was presented, so it's an easy way for someone wasn't there, they don't know, have any idea what's going on with the project. They can see what was presented and really get more information. So the purpose of the CIP website here is mostly to just give them a general overview, and if they want more information, they can click on the link and get more information. One benefit that is on this is that we do identify the district. So, you know, if I live in District 3, maybe I'm just gonna look at District 3 if that's only where I live, or if I need a contact, I'm really close with my council member, that's a good way for me to know these are the ones that are applicable to my district. So going into initiated, what's kind of nice about some of these projects is that they are a little, the description is kind of general, so we are able to find exactly where the need is and address those issues. So for the 2020 walking path systems, Swanson pedestrian path was part of this project. We haven't used all of the funding for it yet, so there are some left over, and some of the funds went to the No More Shade structure, which you'll see later on. Some of the funding is being hung on to because we have a matching grant that we have applied for. It is at the federal level for review, so we are hanging on to those because it is a matching grant. So we have to find the money to match it somewhere, and this is where we've identified some funds to match that. So we're hoping to really get a bang for our buck and, you know, get those grants to help with walking past and exercise system. So, and you'll see here that in some of these we have, like, for example, this A. Price Woodard and Lynette Woodard Park. They have, and I guess I'll scroll down a little bit more, they are under the park facility enhancements, but they are identified as different projects. So in the CIP, we have pretty much a bucket of money, and it'll be divvied out to these individual parks. So you'll see over here in the cost area, so there's $525,000. And so that is being divvied up between the different parks. And you can see here as I scroll up, this one right here, It's from 2021. This is for 2022. So some of these have been initiated, but they haven't been scheduled. So for example, A. Price Woodard, we are working on the aging railing system there. A contractor hasn't been selected yet, so that's kind of sitting out here, hanging out, don't have exact timing on it. And so one of the things to note is that we may not move these over into another category until we are for sure that it's happening. And most of that is just to manage expectations and manage timing to make sure that when we are moving full steam ahead, that we know exactly the timing, we have commitment from the contractor, from the designer about when things will get done. So moving along here, you can see Lynette Woodard Park. We were able to get $60,000 in a grant for that. So some of these are just, they'll be noted here if there's a grant for them, just to kind of help keep everyone aware of where funds are going if grants have been used. So moving along here, we have different for West Millbrook parking lot. So I guess one thing to note is that with construction prices increasing, we are seeing that some projects are costing more than originally anticipated. So with that, some of these projects may not be done until we know how much is being used or how much has been spent on another project. Really trying to get the bang for our buck to hit these heavy projects that are in need of repair, and then go through and try to use every penny that we can to help with other projects. So moving down to the 2022 playground rehabilitation development. So the parks that were identified were Ailey Park, Emporia Park, Fairmount Park, and Meadows Park. And as Katie mentioned earlier, Meadows Park was the one that had the survey that went out, and we are getting that survey back here really soon. So we're eager to see that and see what the public is looking for, what their desires are for that park. And one thing to note is that we are trying to spread out some of these playgrounds across the city to make sure that we are spreading the money in all our districts. The aquatic and master plan phase 3, that is mostly being done by Public Works and Utilities. So I don't have any total insight on exactly what's going on with that yet, or any day-to-day information on that, but it is moving forward. The McAdams facility improvements, that is still in the initiated phase because we have not selected a designer for that. We are in the process of doing that, but again, managing expectations, and it's hanging out here until we get farther along. And that's the same thing for the South Lake improvements. You can see that this is the design. As I mentioned before, there's the construction part, but this is the design part, which is really nice to be able to have the design phase and the construction phase to help break out timing and things like that, and when things are initiated. So those are the initiated projects, and we're getting into the scheduling here, or scheduled, excuse me. So with Swanson Park, this was for the pedestrian bridge, and this is for the park facility enhancements. So as you may have noted before, that we had another part of the 2021 that was initiated. This one is in the schedule because the funds that we've identified for this park have been divvied up and moving forward with the Swanson Park. As you'll see here, they're at NASCAR Park, replacing the existing grass lawn with artificial turf. And so design is going on now, and hoping to do that in the fall when there's less activity for the park. So some of the timing for this is being shifted around to try to go when the activity for the parks are not very high. Stryker Sports Complex Phase 8. There are many phases to the Stryker Sports Complex, I found out, and once we get into the completed part, you'll see some of the other phases. But this is being done by engineering, I believe. So that's kind of what's going on with Stryker. And here's the tennis improvements tennis center improvements, the clubhouse renovations. So that is scheduled because we do have a architect on board. We are working through that, and so spring 2022 is design, hoping for construction later this year or possibly into next year. For in progress, so these are shovel in the ground. We are doing stuff. Things are being ordered, things are being bought, things are moving along. So this is for the splash pad renewal. Our goal was to hit on these locations here. I think we've identified that Fairmount and Osage are in need of some of the repairs for this pot of money. So I believe we're focusing on those with this one, but it is in progress. One thing that's been taking up a bit of Larry and my time is the athletic courts. So as you can see, athletic courts for 2021, that is a pot of money, and then we were able to get Boston, College Hill, Harvest, and Plainview all together with this amount, luckily with a donation from the College Hill Neighborhood Association. And you can see right here, we've been able to structure it to where our bid was included all of them. So using things, trying to be as efficient as we can with using Multicon to do all of the basketball courts. So that is in progress right now. If you drive by any of these parks, you'll see, I think Harvest is going to be a little bit later, but those have been, construction is out, and we do have signs up to pointing them to this page to get a little bit more information. So if they wanted to go to the athletic court presentation, they're able to do that. The irrigation system at Harrison Dog Park in the works there. The facility, again, other facility park improvements. So you'll see that some of these take longer. Some projects are from 2022, some are from 2020. It really just kind of depends on the project. Each project is different, requires different timing, different things that you may run into. So looking through these parks, you may see different dates, and that's just a little bit of background on why some things move faster than others. It just, each park is different, require different actions. Again, the Aquatics Master Plan Phase 3, College Hill. If you drive by College Hill while you're looking at the basketball court, you'll see that the pool renovation is going on. Harrison Park here for a water playground. Plainview is going on as well. And Chester I. Lewis, Reflection Square Park. If you've driven down Douglas, you'll see the construction going on there. Very excited about that park, and Larry has been doing a great job navigating the ins and outs of that, and the staff has been doing a great job with that important project, especially for our downtown, just keeping Douglas alive and activated. Crystal Prairie Lake, you'll see that is from 2004, so it's been going on for a while, and it's ongoing to create a recreational lake. And some of that's due to the mining operation going on at the park now. So a target goal is opening in 2025. So that kind of a moving target here based on the mining operation, but that is ongoing. So it will be sitting here probably in this in progress for a little while. And then Nomar. We are very excited about Nomar. Shades. We're on target to complete that by Cinco de Mayo. And looking forward to seeing that space filled up. I guess I'll before we get into complicated, are there any question or completed? Any questions right now?
I can hold to the end of it. I have a question about one of the projects actually, unless this is a more appropriate time.
What project is it?
Well, I had been asked about it, and I'd never gotten it. I don't think I'd asked you guys about the scheduled project for the artificial turf at Napster Park. I was just curious, I don't know, I don't recall what the rationale was on that, and I know I've been asked about it, and I wasn't able to give a coherent answer, and I just remembered, so.
Several reasons why. When we first went through the project, it was very interesting how people wanted either all natural or all artificial turf. So when we actually presented the project, the idea was to split it in half and get some feedback and kind of evaluate how things are going. Since then, we have seen the natural grass deteriorate. It's been very hard to take care of. There's there's expense in regards to watering and maintaining the irrigation system. So, kind of going back and asking some other stakeholders, a lot of folks said, hey, let's go ahead and just provide this all artificial turf. That way we could use it all year round. We don't have to worry about fertilizing, and we don't have to worry about irrigation. We don't have to worry about restricting access when it rains too much or when it snows too much, because all of a sudden it turns into mud, and then it just really kills all the grass. So providing artificial turf gives us a whole lot more flexibility and really kind of satisfies a lot more of the needs for our programming as far as what we are doing, as well as what people want to see at that area. So we know that just by watching and by hosting our events, a lot more things happen on the artificial turf side than it does on the natural turf side.
It's also a lot more durable and long-lasting. There's a reason why a bunch of college baseball teams and high school football complexes are utilizing that. So, that's what I go with. Chicken and Pickle uses it. So, a lot of companies see the worth. It's more of an upfront cost, obviously, but in the long run, it's a lot more sustainable.
But it was from the very, very beginning that we were going to provide both and then evaluate, knowing that we're going to have to change something in the future. So, but knowing and seeing how quickly the natural grass area has deteriorated made it really simple and clear. And that's why we're also putting artificial turf in the Chester I. Lewis Park when we bring that online as well.
Alrighty, so jumping into the completed, I might go through this a little quickly since some of this is completed and most of you are aware of many of these. So the 2018 walking path system, so repairs at Boston, Eastview, Harrison, Sunset Park. O.J. Watson Park is the event center for construction for that. I think still kind of finishing that up, but essentially complete. Playground improvements at Boston Park and Redbud Park. Then in 2019, the athletic courts, funding was used for the Osage tennis and pickleball. And we did a survey for that one, and we've kind of been enjoying these surveys to get a little bit more information from the public, especially in that area. Evergreen Recreation Center floors, athletic courts for Pyatt Park, Spruce Park. At North Linwood Park, facility enhancements. This was for the limestone shelter. And then the ADA pathway to the limestone shelter. Again, more walking path repairs at Swanson Park. Engineered wood fiber resurfacing at College Hill Park and Emory Park. Also at Kiwanis and McAdams. And then we start to get into the aquatics master plan. So work was done at Ailey Park, McAdams Pool, Orchard Pool was rehabilitated, Boston, the splash pad, Edgemore Park with a splash pad, Evergreen with a splash pad, Havers Park, Linwood Park, oh gosh, I can never say this, Manissa Park, Botanica South Entrance, the parking lot expansion, Friendship Park, Harrison Park basketball court. And then now we start to get into some of the striker stuff. So I guess scroll up here to the top. Long list here. So the Harrison Park Dog Park, the tennis futsal courts at Harrison Park, LW Clap Master Plan, Leon Robinson Park, Nafsker Park, Orchard floors at the rec center, Pawnee Prairie Park pathway and drainage, Pawnee Prairie Park playground. I will note that at Pawnee Prairie Park, we are looking at some more. There is a little bit of leftover funds to continue to work on the pathway system. Our main goal was done with this for improvement, but there are some cleanup items that we're wanting to do there. So a little bit of funds left over will be used for that. Proc Wetlands Park, yeah, I encourage you, if you have not been out there, it is a very cool park. Sherwood Glen Park playground and sports court. And we start to get into the Stryker complex. So much more of this is engineering, but you can see you start to go through phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and now we're on 8. As many of you know, the tennis center received new courts and upgraded the existing courts. So lots of completed projects, but a lot of projects in the works. I guess I can answer any other questions or at this time. I will check Teams just to see if there were any comments. Oh, that's pennies.
Any questions for staff?
I have a question. So, McAdams Park, that donation that we have to pay back, how are we paying that back?
The $10,000 donation,
10,000?
or 10 million, I'm sorry, $10 million.
I was gonna say, 10,000, I get it, but.
So what's happening with that is there'll be a loan to pay for what we have put in the capital improvement projects budget, and then that loan will be forgiven
For 3 years.
forever.
That's new information.
Now you sharing
That's
new
not what
information
you
that
shared with us last time.
information that I shared with you last time, that was going to only be forgiven for 3 years.
It was a 3-year interest-free loan, and then after 3 years, we're gonna have to start paying it back.
I don't think so. It will be, from my understanding, is going to be forgiven.
Well, that's good if it is.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Me too.
Just wanted to share with you guys that a lot of hard work goes into all these CIP projects. There's so many balls in the air when we're dealing with this. As you can see, there's a bunch of projects. So Larry and his team are doing a great job on this. Tim is doing a great job on this. And a lot of information is there on the website. And it's always really kind of frustrating to me when people say, I don't know what's going on. And I repeatedly tell them to go to the website because we update all this information on a regular basis. So it's really great. When I talk to my peers across the country, when I see other recreation departments or parks and recreation departments, they don't do this. This is a huge effort on our part to be hugely transparent, provide this information, and give updates on projects on a regular basis. So I really appreciate our team that's doing this. And by the way, we're seeing a lot of new faces. So obviously Tim's a new face. Jan retired last month or 6 weeks ago, thereabouts. And we're seeing some more new faces coming on board. And we brought in some folks from Century 2. So Katie is a new face as well. So we're seeing a lot of folks fill in some of the spots that we lost some folks. And so it's really kind of cool to see our team come together. So another new face back here is Brandon, who's helping us with all of our finances.
Welcome aboard, everybody. If there's no other questions for Tim or Troy, we can move forward here. Okay, thanks, Tim. No continuation of prior business. We'll jump into the finance update.
I don't have an update for you.
Communication update.
We didn't have any communication that went to the city manager or to council or coming back the other direction. So I don't have anything to provide for that. The only thing was the outcome of the council meeting a couple weeks ago. And I think you all know the outcome of that. So
Just went through the social media, so I think we can breeze by that unless there's anything else we need to talk about there. Recreation, Reggie?
Hello, we're going to give you guys just a brief update of some of the projects and things that are taking place in the Recreation Division, kind of combined in some of the things that were happening in both January and February since we didn't have an opportunity to present last month. So first off, going into our athletic division, aquatics division first, we mentioned earlier with some of those projects that are coming up that we're doing now as part of phase 3 of the aquatics master plan. You'll see that the pool deck area over at College Hill has been removed and the pipe infrastructure is being placed in there for some of those things, as well as with the Harrison and Plainview splash pad construction has also begun. So that's part of that initial funding that we got for those phases, and we're on the last portion of that to get those items up and going and completed. We're hard and heavy on getting ready to hire for the summer. Our pools were really active last year. We had some of our largest numbers in attendance that we've had since 2002, when we tracked some of the numbers that we had in place for attendance from last year over those last several years to be able to show that there's a big need for bringing on additional people for this season. So Penny's been working real diligently on that with getting people in and trained, and we had our first lifeguard training this past weekend to start moving forward to prepare for operations to open up on Memorial Day weekend. So our athletic division has been really busy as well. We've been looking at doing quite a few different things in the community to continue to activate those parks and get people out and participating. And one of those things that we've been working on is our rugby agreement that we renewed for Harrison Park. So that location actually takes care of all of our maintenance and operations there on site, and they do that, and we, in lieu of any field fees that we charge for reservation or rental costs, they maintain that property and provide the program to that community there. So we have finalized the agreement to work with, I'm sure you guys saw a little while back that we did the renovations over at Westside Athletic Field in partnership with Friends University. So we have expanded that. We're working with them. We're doing a group here that's called the Logos, which is a group of college players who play during the summertime frame, play there at that location, as well over at McAdams Park. So give those opportunity for those young people in the summertime frame, continue to compete and prepare for the upcoming season after their seasons end during the spring. Also, we've been doing a big push for our Spring Miracle League that's scheduled to start. The registration for that is open until the end of this month, and then starting our games in April. So the Boston Rec Center is one of those locations that's gotten the CIP funding to add a new basketball court. So they've started on that project and got it initiated, and looking to hopefully have that completed here soon if the weather cooperates with us to be able to get things completed. We also jumped into a lot of our summer camp registration, which is a big push for us now. And Boston does a really good job there of doing a lot of our specialty camps. And 2/3 of those camps have already filled up, and we continue to look at other opportunities leading into the summer for expanding those programming as well. Evergreen Rec Center started something new that we're trying to do in that community, is doing some basketball leagues and junior basketball clinics there on site. So we had 19 young people that signed up for that when we initially opened it up, continue to expand and giving opportunity for those young people to come in and do something there at the rec center. We also partnered with Snow Bros that we mentioned earlier, that Troy, we did the social media post on that and had 250 people come out for that, for the sledding event over at the Mid-American Indian Center. And we're also planning for the Open Streets of Nomar that's coming up on the 1st of May for Cinco de Mayo, leading up to Cinco de Mayo. And that's going to be real key with the structures that we're getting completed there for the shade structures and some of the improvements that are made there. It'll be a big asset for the community. Linwood Rec Center continues to be really active with doing some things there on site as well. So one of the things that we've been pushing a lot for is our City Crew Club, which is our kids club that does free events for the community. And we've targeted going to each of the rec centers, and they're hosting a particular event, and it does two things: give the community something to do that's a fun-free event for the family, but also spotlight our rec center to show that this is a location where you can come out and participate in other activities that we offer throughout the year. So we had a good turnout for that particular event. We had 35 participants that came out on that particular day. Had one prior to that we ended up having almost 100 people that came out for it, so we continue to push those events and getting them out to the community. We also have been working really closely we hosted an event there at Linwood at the park for a Super Bowl Sunday that we did on February the 13th. I had 179 runners that participated in that 4-mile run through Linwood Park on that day. We also have a senior center there on site, so we do a lot of activities with them there. We're just resuming our card playing this week with them that have been restricted because of some of the COVID concerns that we had. Now that those lessons, we're able to do some of that, as well as helping with our tax aid program for the community to come out and participate. That's a free service that's offered on site there also. Orchard Park, I know we mentioned earlier that Tim referenced a grant that we had gotten for doing facility improvement and program supplies there. So we got $290,000 through that grant that was allocated out to 7 different rec centers, and some of them got $60,000, some of them got $30,000. And it allowed us to be able to go out and buy a lot of different things that we needed there to replace some aging supplies and equipment there on site, and looking at actually getting some technology into some of those buildings as well. But we're working with our IT department, getting some Chromebooks as well as hotspots and some laptops to have on site for the community to be able to use when they come to those facilities as well. And we also continue to do a lot of more of our sports rentals to use the space indoors. But some of the restrictions that we have with COVID is that some of our programmers was reduced, but we were able to open up the facility for rentals for those organized sports groups and things in the community that were looking for space. Tennis Center continues to be really active, and we got a lot going on there. We just had our junior league indoor court league that was played there. They had 30 players that was in place there for that particular event. We're still working and got funding again for this year for Mo Conley Foundation, who helped fund the improvements at the Tennis Center to do scholarships for our summer activity camp and our summer discovery camps. And this allows us to actually have staff go out to each of those locations and get young people who may not have opportunity to participate in tennis to get some exposure to that in those communities where they are in partnership with our summer camps programs that we actually have. We're also scheduling for some new tournaments and things that we are planning for this summer, as well as we're excited that we were able to bring on a new person on our team that's going to be assisting with doing pickleball tournaments and expanding what we do there, and that's going to kick off in April. And a young man relocated here from Nashville, Tennessee area that's going to be leading those efforts for us moving forward. Lynette Woodard continues to be really active with a lot of things that they're doing there. They offer a variety of different classes there from, as you can see, a swordsmanship class that we had that had 13 participants that are there for, and then generated an additional $201 in revenue that we have there. So you think about there's a variety of different classes that we have, and after we cover our expenses for it, that's what we have left over for each of those for that particular class. And a lot of the other classes are in the same situation where they're making quite a bit of money off of what our expenses is compared to the revenue. Some of the other things mentioned there, piano classes that are offered there. We do a lot of things there with KRPA. Our director there actually won an award on the state level for with being the person that puts on athletic events for there. So she was acknowledged by that for the KRPA. And they received grant funding there for that particular location as well, and continue to do a lot of private lessons and things there on site. And one of the things that's coming up that we're going to be doing this summer as well is the 50-year anniversary for the rec center, and we're working with Lynette Woodard, who's going to be coming down doing a free basketball camp there on site and doing a training for young people there in the community. So we're excited about that coming up as well. And kind of finally, our spring guide came out on the 1st of of this month, and we did a big push to highlight our summer camp program, and we started that marketing promotion 2 weeks earlier than what we normally do to kind of get ahead of some of the other camps and things that are being offered in the community. And within the first 2 days that we had there, we filled up 2 weeks of our camp off of those efforts that we had there. So we ran a campaign where we're doing a possibility to win a free week of summer camp, and people came out and registered, and looking forward to getting involved with our summer camp activities. So I'll stand for any questions you guys have any as well.
Any questions?
For last year, we had an issue with hiring of our aquatics department, the part-time temporary staff. What steps have we taken to be ahead of that this year, and where does that stand?
Sure. That's always a challenge for us, especially with what we're doing now this season. We and Mr. Hauptman and I were talking about that earlier, about some of the things that we're doing. Penny worked real hard to open up our registration earlier in the year than what we typically do, to try to get ahead of people who are looking to do marketing for that. We've already hired on about 50 people out of the 150 that we need. We had our first training class this summer. For preparing for the summer this past weekend. We've been working with the school district, with some of the swim clubs here in the area, to be able to look at hiring some of those young people as well and getting them comfortable with what's required to be a lifeguard. So that's part of the efforts that we're doing. We're also looking at what our pay structure is now to see what adjustments we can potentially make to that, as well as looking at creative ways that we can do scheduling and opening and closing to optimize the number of people that we have to meet our need.
We're also going to start requiring board members to become lifeguards.
Work on this golfer's tan somehow.
As long as I can wear the Speedo.
Oh my God, no. Yeah, shout out to Angela Buckner and the rest of our staff and volunteers that won awards. I think there's like 12 of them. There's a bunch at the March 1st council meeting, so.
There was six.
Six.
Well, overstated a little bit,
So,
so.
but we teamed up with WSU
That's right.
and Wichita
That's
Rowan.
right. Yeah,
So they made it look a lot bigger.
best staff and volunteers in the state, so much deserved. Golf update.
Oh, yeah. We got a lot going on. So, over the past year, as we were going through the request for proposal for bringing the third-party management, I was going down two roads. I was planning for both scenarios. If we were to strike a contract with Kemper, I had plans in direction and things that we were going to do if we were going to go down that direction. I also had a plan in regards to what are we going to do if we keep it in-house, and what are the steps we need to do to get going on that situation. So the day after council, I started putting in requisitions to start hiring staff. We have 21 full-time golf positions, and there was 7 vacancies. And so I'm working right now and filling those 7 vacancies. I actually have an interview on Wednesday to fill the golf pro at Sim. So that's one of the first steps. But we're also looking at the food and beverage manager. As you guys probably remember, Shannon Applehans used to be part of the Golf Enterprise Fund. Now she's working in Parks and Recreation. So her position is vacant as well. Several of the groundskeepers, some of the assistant golf pros, those are all positions that need to be filled. So that's the first priority, is to fill those positions and then start working on a really strong food and beverage plan that's going to accommodate all kinds of food needs at all the golf courses with really good quality food, but also we're looking at some really important profit margins there as well. So that's my first priority, and we're going to be reaching out to the PGA to help us with the division manager, which was formerly held by Troy Hendricks. So, but I'm not waiting to fill that position to fill all the other positions. We're so far behind that we really need to start getting all the positions filled. And so that's what my plan is.
What's the timeline on the golf director search? And I mean, you said you're partnering with PGA. Is there something that we can help facilitate, like a search committee or something to that effect? Because I understand, like, as I see it, that would be one of the biggest priorities. And so where do you see that in paint the sky blue? When can we expect somebody in that position?
I would hope in 2 months.
Okay.
That's my hope. As far as a search committee, our HR department is going to handle that, working with the PGA. So that's their job. They have those expertise, and they're going to go out and beat the bushes and turn over the rocks and see if we could find some great applicants for the position. What I do need help with, and I already talked to the Golf Advisory Committee about this, some stakeholders in the selection committee. So I think we're going to need somebody from the park board, somebody from the Golf Advisory Committee, probably another 1 or 2 from the golf community, along with staff, to be part of the selection committee. And once I get opportunities to review the applications, I'll really start working on the committee to go through that process. Okay?
Any other questions there? Okay. Park maintenance and forestry.
So David went home sick today, and he asked if I wanted to do the presentation, and I said no.
At least you're honest.
And if it's something that you guys really want me to go through, I'd be happy to do my best to stumble through it. But what we can do is send you the PowerPoint, and if there's any questions, you guys can follow up with me on, if that's okay.
Works for me.
Okay.
Parks Foundation update, do we have anything there?
Let's see.
Well, Neil was on here.
Oh, well, then no, he's going to do it.
Vallejo, you with us?
Okay, so the last meeting we talked a little bit about finalizing Red, White, and Boom. We did meet with Freddy's. If you guys don't know this, Freddy's locally sold to a larger franchise. So we're working with the larger franchise in regards to their sponsorship of $15,000 for the fireworks. And we're working with the folks over at the baseball stadium, the Wind Surge. So we are going to have fireworks in the 4th of July, Independence Day. And but as there's more development happening downtown, this might be the last year we have fireworks at that location. We might have an opportunity to do it somewhere else. I'm still researching and feel very strongly about maybe, hopefully, being able to shoot them off of Century 2. But we'll see what happens. If not, we might have to look at something a little bit more out of the box, but that's where we're at.
On top of Century 2, the
Yeah.
blue?
Yeah,
Nice.
it's concrete.
This is an end around way to get rid of Century 2, might have.
Whoops, explosion.
Yes, well, no.
Make sure no one's in there at the time.
I did not know you could actually do that off Century. We should be exploring all kinds of things off Century 2 in that case.
Well, the concern is the safety aspect of falling off and the slope of it. And
Yeah.
so we'll see. But as far as fire is concerned, it's a concrete roof. And
It's a lot
so,
of deferred maintenance.
Yeah.
I don't know if I wanna get
so you really can't
Shooting asbestos.
catch it on fire.
Okay. Famous. Okay.
blow holes in the concrete that was built by the baseball stadium, the old baseball stadium.
Boy, you guys are so positive.
So when anybody to get hurt.
I think it's a cool idea. I was half joking. I said, we should do it off the top of this building. I didn't think you would really do it. I didn't know you could do that off the top of Century 2, but go right ahead.
Actually, it's happened before.
Okay.
There's precedence has happened before. So many years ago, probably
Maybe it is
before
for something.
you and I were born. But I don't know.
All my favorite buildings have explosions on top of them, so that's great.
All right.
Anything else there?
No.
Okay. I was asked to, President's update, I was asked to play in the Wichita Golf Marathon from Corey Novascone. He's over at the First Tee. I think this is their 3rd or 4th year that they've done this. It's going to be out at Sim Park this year on April 18th. Their goal is to play 100 holes in a day. He sent me the golf website. It's wichita.golf. So I'll be sending that out on Facebook and some of the other social channels. If you guys would share that, that would be greatly appreciated. You know, we talk about growing the game of golf. This whole thing was started 3 years ago by a couple of entrepreneurs here, Corey Novascone, Pete Kresnick, and a few others. But you know, their goal was to provide an opportunity for junior golfers to play golf for free, make it more accessible to them. Last year, I think they raised like $20,000, and all of that money, 99% of that money goes to paying for their green fees, which essentially gave junior golfers, I think, 5 weeks over the summer to play for free.
Much more than that. Actually, it's probably more like 5 months.
Okay.
And this works great because they raise somewhere between $20,000 and $25,000 a year, and that money goes back to the golf courses. They pay for these kids to play at a reduced rate, so the kids play for free, but it's not totally free cost or expense to our golf courses. So it's a good win-win for everybody.
So, good deal there. Had to get that plug in there, but that's all I have for President's update. Directors?
Well, if you're going to be doing plugs, then I got one too. And so on April 30th, we're doing our very first cornhole tournament, and it's going to be down at South Lakes. And I did twist the mayor's arm, and he's going to be there. And so Chris Pompelli is going to be his partner at this. So it's April 30th. It's a Saturday. I think we're starting at 11 o'clock. And if any of you guys want to play, your fee has been taken care of. So bring a partner. There's going to be hot dogs. There's going to be beer. And it's a great time to see what's happening at the park, because I do believe there's going to be flag football going on one side. There's going to be probably some softball, baseball going somewhere else. All the things that are going on at the park. And what's better than playing cornhole on a nice April Saturday afternoon?
You had me at hot dogs and beer.
So in all seriousness, if you guys want to participate, just let me know, and I'll get you guys on the roster. I have a secret donor that's going to be paying for these extra entry fees. So,
Awesome.
okay. And this includes the law department as well. You guys are more than welcome to come out and play some cornhole.
You gotta have a team that takes last place in the law department. That's what we're here for. You guys cheat.
It's still
in the Fair.
All right, if there's nothing else that we need to cover today or put on the agenda for next month, we can adjourn.
Second that.
Thanks, everybody. Need a motion.